What if you opened your pantry tomorrow and realized you had plenty of food, but almost nothing you could actually build a meal from? You might have snacks, a few cans, maybe some random ingredients. But when you start putting everything together, you realize there's no real foundation. That's where a well-planned pantry makes a difference. Smart prepping isn't about buying every product you see on a survival list. It's about having a selection of basic foods that can work together. Foods that can become meals. Foods that can be stored properly. Foods your household will actually eat. And foods that give you options when your normal grocery routine gets interrupted. A storm. A power outage. A supply disruption. A temporary shortage. Or even something much simpler. A week when you don't have time to make several trips to the grocery store. A good pantry can make all of those situations easier to manage. But there's one mistake people often make. They buy too many foods that only work by themselves. A smart pantry is different. You want ingredients that can combine with each other. Something that provides carbohydrates. Something that adds protein. Something that adds flavor. Something that can make meals more filling. And something that can help you prepare food even when fresh ingredients aren't available. That's what today's list is about. We're counting down 12 pantry staples that every smart prepper should consider keeping available. And we're not saying you need to buy all 12 today. Start with what your household already eats. Build gradually. Rotate your supply. Store everything according to the manufacturer's instructions. And keep your pantry organized so you actually know what you have. Because preparedness isn't about having the biggest stockpile. It's about having a useful one. Before we begin, subscribe to Prepper Pulse and turn on notifications. We upload new videos daily with practical preparedness tips, grocery advice, food storage ideas, and emergency planning strategies to help you stay informed and ready. Now let's count down 12 pantry staples every smart prepper should consider owning. Starting with number 12. Number 12. Lentils. Starting at number 12 is a pantry staple that doesn't always get the attention it deserves. Lentils. They're small. They're inexpensive. And they can turn a basic pantry into something much more useful. One of the biggest advantages of lentils is that they don't require soaking overnight like many dried beans. That makes them convenient when you want to prepare a meal without planning too far ahead. You can use them in soups, stews, curries, rice dishes, salads, or simple lentil-based meals with vegetables and seasonings. They can also be combined with other pantry staples to create completely different meals. That's exactly what you want in a preparedness pantry. Ingredients that can work together. Dry lentils are also relatively easy to store. Keep them in a cool, dry place. Protect them from moisture and pantry pests. And if you've transferred them from their original packaging into another container, make sure that container is clean, dry, and properly sealed. Like other dry foods, lentils don't literally remain perfect forever. Their quality can decline over extended periods, especially if they're exposed to poor storage conditions. So rotation still matters. Buy what your household is actually likely to eat. Use the older supply first. Then replace it. There are several types of lentils as well. Brown, green, red, and other varieties can have different textures and cooking times. Red lentils, for example, tend to cook down more quickly and can work especially well in soups and curries. Brown or green lentils can hold their shape better. Choose varieties that match the meals your household enjoys. And don't forget about cooking fuel. Having dry food stored is useful only if you have a realistic way to prepare it. That's something many people overlook when building a long-term pantry. Lentils earn the number 12 spot because they're affordable, versatile, relatively quick to prepare compared with many dried legumes, and capable of becoming the foundation of numerous filling meals. And the next pantry staple is another simple ingredient that can dramatically expand what you can cook with the foods you already have. Number 11. Cornmeal. At number 11 is a pantry staple that can be used in far more ways than many people realize. Cornmeal. It may not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think about emergency food storage. But that's exactly why it's worth considering. Cornmeal can become cornbread, corn muffins, corn porridge, coatings for certain foods. and a variety of other recipes depending on the type and grind. That versatility gives you more meal options without requiring a huge number of separate ingredients. Cornmeal is also a dry pantry product, so it doesn't require refrigeration while unopened. But storage conditions matter. Keep it somewhere cool and dry. Protect it from moisture, insects, and excessive heat. Some cornmeal products contain natural oils that can affect their storage life, so always follow the manufacturer's storage instructions and pay attention to the package date. For longer storage, the packaging matters too. If you transfer cornmeal into an airtight food-safe container, make sure the container is completely dry before filling it. A small amount of moisture can create problems for dry foods. And don't forget about rotation. Buy quantities your household will actually use. Make cornbread or another recipe occasionally. Then replace what you've consumed. That way, your pantry reserve becomes part of your normal food routine instead of becoming a forgotten pile of old ingredients. Cornmeal can also be useful when other staples become repetitive. Rice and beans can get boring, but changing the preparation method can make pantry meals feel completely different. A warm bowl of cornmeal porridge, a simple skillet cornbread, or another familiar recipe can provide variety without requiring fresh groceries. When shopping, pay attention to the product type. Fine-ground cornmeal, coarse-ground cornmeal, masa harina, and other corn-based products aren't interchangeable in every recipe. Choose the product that matches what your household actually knows how to prepare. Cornmeal earns the number 11 spot because it's inexpensive, versatile, easy to store, and capable of turning a simple pantry into a much more flexible kitchen. And the next staple is something that can add both flavor and calories to a wide range of meals. Number 10. Peanut butter. At number 10 is one of the most practical pantry staples you can keep around. Peanut butter. It's familiar. It's easy to eat. And it can be used in far more ways than a simple sandwich spread. You can spread it on bread or crackers. Add it to oatmeal. Mix it into smoothies. Use it in sauces. Or simply eat it as a quick snack. That flexibility makes peanut butter especially useful when you need something filling without complicated preparation. Another advantage is convenience. You don't have to cook it. You don't need refrigeration before opening. And a jar can provide multiple servings. For emergency preparedness, that means peanut butter can become a useful backup when you're short on time, cooking fuel, or fresh ingredients. But there are a few things to remember. Peanut butter is not a true never-expires food. Its quality can change over time, especially because it contains fats. Always check the manufacturer's date and storage instructions. Keep unopened jars in a cool, dry place. Protect them from excessive heat. And after opening, follow the label's storage recommendations. Different types can behave differently. Traditional peanut butter, natural peanut butter, and specialty varieties may have different storage requirements. Natural peanut butter can separate, so stirring may be necessary. When building your pantry, choose the type your household already enjoys. There's no benefit to stockpiling a large quantity of something nobody wants to eat. You should also consider allergies when storing peanut products around other foods or households. Peanut butter earns the number 10 spot because it's ready to eat, versatile, calorie-dense, easy to pair with other pantry staples, and requires very little preparation. And that last point matters. A smart prepper doesn't only think about what food can be stored. They also think about what food can realistically be prepared under difficult conditions. The next pantry staple is another simple ingredient that can help turn several basic foods into complete meals. Number 9. Canned tomatoes. At number 9 is one of the most versatile canned ingredients you can keep in your pantry. Canned tomatoes, whole tomatoes, diced tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce. There are plenty of options. And each one can completely change the way you use other pantry staples. Take plain rice. Add canned tomatoes, spices, and a few vegetables, and suddenly you have an entirely different meal. Have beans? Canned tomatoes can turn them into a stew. Have pasta? You can create a simple tomato-based sauce. Have canned vegetables? Combine them with tomatoes and seasonings for a quick soup. That's what makes canned tomatoes so valuable. They aren't usually the entire meal. They're a building block. And a smart pantry needs building blocks. Canned tomatoes are also convenient because they're ready to use. There's no washing, no peeling, no chopping, and no refrigeration while the can remains unopened. That makes them useful when fresh produce isn't available. But storage still matters. Keep unopened cans in a cool, dry place. Protect them from excessive heat. And rotate your supply. Use older cans first and replace what you consume. Before opening, inspect the can. Avoid cans that are swollen, leaking, severely rusted, or badly damaged. When you're shopping, you can also choose different varieties based on what your household cooks. Diced tomatoes are convenient for soups and stews. Crushed tomatoes work well for sauces. Whole tomatoes can be broken down during cooking. And seasoned varieties can add extra flavor, although you should check the sodium content and ingredients. One of the best things about canned tomatoes is how many other pantry staples they can connect. Rice, beans, grains, vegetables, meat, and countless seasonings. That means one inexpensive ingredient can create dozens of meal combinations. Canned tomatoes earn the number 9 spot because they're shelf-stable, versatile, easy to prepare, and capable of turning basic ingredients into much more satisfying meals. And the next pantry staple is something that can make almost any emergency meal taste better. Number 8. Bouillon. At number 8 is one of the smallest pantry items that can make a surprisingly big difference. Bouillon. Cubes, powder, granules, or concentrated forms can all provide a convenient way to add